English Learning Stories. How to Build Discipline When You Feel Lazy. Segment 1. Stop for a moment. If you feel lazy every day, this story is for you. If you keep planning but never start, this story is for you. If you want discipline but you feel tired, stay with me. In the next 35 to 45 minutes, you will listen to a calm English learning story. You will also learn a simple discipline system that works even when you feel lazy. This is not a lecture. This is a story. A story about a man named Ethan. Ethan is not a bad person. Ethan is not stupid. Ethan is simply stuck in a lazy cycle. He wakes up late. He scrolls his phone. He delays his work. He feels guilty at night. Then he repeats the same day again. Ethan keeps saying, "Tomorrow I will change," but tomorrow never comes. Tonight, Ethan will meet someone who changes his life. He will meet a quiet man in a small gym at midnight, and that man will give him one sentence that breaks his lazy cycle. If you stay until the end, you will learn the same system. You will practice simple English, and you will leave this story with a clear daily plan. Now take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let us begin. Ethan sat on his couch at 11:38 p.m. His laptop was open, his work was unfinished, his phone was in his hand. He had promised himself he would finish a project tonight, but instead he was watching random videos. Ethan looked at the screen and whispered, "Why am I like this?" He closed the phone and rubbed his face. He felt tired, not tired from work, tired from guilt. Because he knew the truth, he was wasting his life. Ethan stood up and walked to the bathroom. He looked at himself in the mirror. His eyes looked dull. He said softly, "I need discipline." Then he laughed. He said, "I always say this. I never change." Ethan went back to the couch. He opened his phone again. But this time, something different happened. His phone battery died. The screen turned black. Ethan stared at it. Then he sat in silence. No scrolling, no noise, just him. Ethan felt uncomfortable because silence showed him his life clearly. He looked at the time again, 11:45 p.m. He thought, if I cannot work, I will at least walk outside. Ethan put on a jacket and walked out. The street was quiet. The air was cold. The city lights looked soft. Ethan walked without a plan. Then he noticed a small gym. The lights were still on. Ethan stopped and stared. Why is this gym open? Ethan walked closer. The door was slightly open. He looked inside. Only one person was there. A man was lifting weights slowly. Not fast, not loud. Slow and calm. Ethan felt something in his chest. The man looked at Ethan and asked, "Why are you here?" Ethan hesitated. Then he said honestly, "I feel lazy. I cannot focus. I waste my time. I want discipline, but I do not have it." The man put down the weights. He walked closer and said calmly, "You are not lazy." Ethan looked surprised. The man continued, "You are just practicing laziness every day." Ethan froze. The man said, "Discipline is also practice." Ethan whispered, "Practice?" The man nodded. Then the man said one sentence that hit Ethan deeply. He said, "You do not need motivation, you need a system." Ethan repeated slowly,
I do not need motivation. I need a system. The man smiled. He said, "That is your first lesson." Now, my dear friends, let us practice spoken English from this segment. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. I need discipline. Repeat after me. I need discipline. Again, slowly. I need discipline. Sentence 2. I feel lazy sometimes. Repeat after me. I feel lazy sometimes. Again, I feel lazy sometimes. Sentence 3. Discipline is practice. Repeat after me. Discipline is practice. Again, slowly. Discipline is practice. Sentence 4. I do not need motivation. I need a system. Repeat after me. I do not need motivation. I need a system. Again, I do not need motivation. I need a system. Very good. Now, calm speaking drill. Repeat slowly. I can start small. I can stay consistent. I can build discipline. I can change my life. Repeat again slowly. I can start small. I can stay consistent. I can build discipline. I can change my life. Excellent. Now let us continue. Ethan looked at the man and asked, "What system?" The man nodded and said, "I will show you." In segment 2, Ethan will learn the first discipline system, a system that works even when you feel lazy.
Segment 2. Now we are in segment 2. Ethan stood inside the quiet gym. The air smelled clean. The lights were soft. The room was almost empty. The man wiped his hands with a towel and said, "My name's Mark." Ethan nodded. He said, "I am Ethan." Mark smiled. He said, "Ethan, let me ask you something." Ethan replied, "Yes." Mark asked, "When you feel lazy, what do you do?" Ethan answered honestly, "I delay. I scroll my phone. I say, I will start later." Mark nodded. He said, "So your brain learned a pattern. Lazy feeling equals escape." Ethan listened carefully. Mark continued, "Discipline is a new pattern. Lazy feeling equals action." Ethan frowned. He said, "But how can I take action when I feel lazy?" Mark smiled. He said, "You do not take big action. You take tiny action." Ethan asked, "Tiny action?" Mark nodded. He said, "This is the first discipline system, the 2-minute rule." Ethan repeated, 2-minute rule. Mark explained slowly. He said, "When you feel lazy, do the task for only 2 minutes, not 10 minutes, not 1 hour, only 2 minutes." Ethan looked confused. He said, "How can 2 minutes change anything?" Mark replied calmly, 2 minutes does not finish the task. 2 minutes starts the task. Starting is the hardest part." Ethan stayed silent. Mark continued, "Your brain resists starting, but once you start, it becomes easier." Mark pointed to a weight on the floor. He said, "I feel lazy sometimes too." Ethan looked surprised. Mark smiled. "Yes, I feel lazy, but I still come here because I do not rely on feelings. I rely on a rule." Ethan asked, "What rule?" Mark said, "I tell myself, just 2 minutes." Mark continued, "Some days I only do 2 minutes and go home, but most days, after 2 minutes, I continue because action creates energy." Ethan repeated softly, "Action creates energy." Mark said, "Yes." Then Mark said, "Now I will show you how to use this in your life." Mark asked Ethan, "What is the one task you avoid the most?" Ethan answered, "Work. I avoid my work project." Mark nodded. He said, "Tonight, when you go home, do your project for 2 minutes only." Ethan looked uncertain. Mark said, "No pressure, no perfection, just 2 minutes." Ethan nodded slowly. Mark continued, "This system has a second part. After 2 minutes, ask one question. Do I want to stop or continue?" Ethan repeated, "Do I want to stop or continue?" Mark smiled. He said, "If you stop, it is fine. You still trained discipline because you started." Ethan felt relief. Mark said, "Most people think discipline means forcing yourself, but discipline is training your brain." Ethan listened. Mark continued, "And training must be small and repeatable." Then Mark said, "I will give you another system to support the 2-minute rule. It is called environment control." Ethan asked, "Environment control?" Mark nodded. He said, "Your environment can make you lazy or disciplined." Ethan looked down. Mark said, "If your phone is next to you, you will scroll. If your bed is next to you, you will lie down. If your TV is on, you will watch. So change the environment." Mark continued, "Before you work, remove the phone. Put it in another room. Sit at a clean desk. Open only one tab. Start a timer for 2 minutes." Ethan nodded. Mark said, "This is how you beat laziness, not with motivation, with a small system." Ethan looked at Mark and said, "This feels possible." Mark smiled. He said, "Good, because discipline should feel possible." Now, my dear friends, let us practice spoken English from this segment. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. I will start for 2 minutes. Repeat after me. I will start for 2 minutes. Again, slowly. I will start for 2 minutes. Sentence 2. Starting is the hardest part. Repeat after me. Starting is the hardest part. Again, starting is the hardest part. Sentence 3. Action creates energy. Repeat after me. Action creates energy. Again, slowly. Action creates energy. Sentence 4. I will control my environment. Repeat after me. I will control my environment. Again, I will control my environment. Sentence 5. I will build discipline step by step. Repeat after me. I will build discipline step by step. Again, slowly. I will build discipline step by step. Very good. Now, calm speaking drill. Repeat slowly. I feel lazy, but I can start. I can do 2 minutes. I can continue. I can build discipline. Repeat again slowly. I feel lazy, but I can start. I can do 2 minutes. I can continue. I can build discipline. Excellent. Now let us continue. Ethan looked at Mark and asked, "What about days when I feel very tired?" Mark nodded. He said, "Then you need the second system, a system for tired days." In segment 3, Mark will teach Ethan the minimum discipline rule. It will keep you consistent even when you feel exhausted.
Segment 3. Now we are in segment 3. Ethan listened to the 2-minute rule. He liked it, but he had another problem. He asked Mark, "What about days when I feel very tired?" Mark nodded. He said, "That is the real question, because most people do not quit on good days. They quit on hard days. Ethan looked down. Mark continued. So you need a system for tired days. Mark called it the minimum discipline rule. Ethan repeated softly, minimum discipline rule. Mark explained calmly. He said, most people have two modes, full effort or zero effort. They work hard for a few days, then they stop completely. This is why they fail. Ethan nodded. Mark said, discipline is not full effort every day. Discipline is never doing zero. Ethan froze. He repeated, never doing zero. Mark nodded. He said, even on your worst day, do the minimum. Ethan asked, what is the minimum? Mark replied, the minimum is the smallest action that keeps the habit alive. Ethan thought for a moment. Mark gave examples. He said, if your goal is exercise, the minimum is 5 push-ups. If your goal is studying, the minimum is reading 1 page. If your goal is work, the minimum is opening the file and writing 1 sentence. Ethan smiled slightly. He said, that is very small. Mark nodded. He said, exactly, because small is easy. Easy is consistent. Consistent is powerful. Ethan listened. Mark continued, the goal is not progress on the worst day. The goal is identity. Ethan asked, identity? Mark said, yes. You want to become a disciplined person, and a disciplined person does not do zero. Ethan felt something shift inside. He asked, so even if I do only 1 sentence, I still win? Mark smiled. He said, yes, because you protected the habit. Mark continued, if you protect the habit, progress will return on a better day. Ethan nodded. Then Mark gave Ethan a simple structure. He said, create 3 levels. Level 1, minimum. Level 2, normal. Level 3, strong. Ethan asked, why 3 levels? Mark replied, because life changes. Some days you are tired. Some days you are normal. Some days you feel strong. So your plan must match your energy. Ethan nodded. Mark gave an example. He said, for work, minimum, 2 minutes, write 1 sentence. Normal, 20 minutes, finish 1 small part. Strong, 60 minutes, deep work. Ethan liked this. Mark said, now you will never feel like a failure, because even the minimum is success. Ethan asked, what if I feel lazy and I still do nothing? Mark looked at Ethan and said calmly, then make the minimum even smaller. Ethan looked surprised. Mark said, the minimum must be so small that your brain cannot refuse. Ethan smiled. Mark continued, for example, open the laptop. That is the minimum. Ethan laughed softly. He said, that feels easy. Mark nodded. He said, yes, and once you open the laptop, you often continue, because starting is the hardest part. Mark then said something important. He said, do not trust your feelings, trust your systems. Ethan repeated, trust my systems. Mark nodded. He said, your feelings change every day, but your system stays. Ethan looked at Mark and said, this is the first time discipline feels possible. Mark smiled. He said, good, because discipline is not pain. Discipline is structure. Now, my dear friends, let us practice spoken English from this segment. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. I will never do zero. Repeat after me. I will never do zero. Again, slowly. I will never do zero. Sentence 2. I will do the minimum. Repeat after me. I will do the minimum. Again, I will do the minimum. Sentence 3. Small is easy. Easy is consistent. Repeat after me. Small is easy. Easy is consistent. Again, slowly. Small is easy. Easy is consistent. Sentence 4. I will protect the habit. Repeat after me. I will protect the habit. Again, I will protect the habit. Sentence 5. I will trust my system. Repeat after me. I will trust my system. Again, slowly. I will trust my system. Very good. Now, calm speaking drill. Repeat slowly. I feel tired, but I will do the minimum. I will not quit. I will protect the habit. I will build discipline. Again, slowly. I feel tired, but I will do the minimum. I will not quit. I will protect the habit. I will build discipline. Excellent. Now let us continue. Ethan asked Mark, "What about days when I feel lazy because I feel stressed?" Mark nodded. He said, "That is the next level." In segment 4, Mark will teach Ethan how to stop stress from turning into laziness. You will learn the stress to action method.
Now we are in segment 4. Ethan understood the minimum discipline rule. Never do zero. Protect the habit. But Ethan asked a deeper question. He said, "Mark, sometimes I am not tired, I am stressed, and stress makes me lazy." Mark nodded. He said, "Yes, stress and laziness often come together." Ethan looked confused. Mark continued, "Because stress creates fear, and fear creates avoidance." Ethan whispered, "Avoidance." Mark said, "Yes. When you feel stressed, your brain tries to escape. So you scroll, you eat, you sleep, you delay." Ethan nodded slowly. He said, "That is exactly me." Mark smiled. He said, "Then you need a system that turns stress into action." Mark called it the stress to action method. Ethan repeated, "Stress to action method." Mark explained calmly. He said, "Stress is energy, but you use that energy in the wrong direction. You send it into worry. You send it into overthinking. So you feel tired, even if your body is not tired." Ethan listened carefully. Mark continued, "The solution is simple. When you feel stress, you must create a small physical action." Ethan asked, "Physical action?" Mark nodded. He said, "Yes, because stress lives in the body. So you must move the body to clear stress." Mark said, "I will show you." Mark stood up. He said, "Ethan, stand up." Ethan stood up. Mark said, "Now do this. Step 1, take 10 deep breaths. Step 2, do 20 slow squats. Step 3, sit down and start your 2-minute rule." Ethan looked surprised. He said, "Squats?" Mark smiled. He said, "Yes, this is not about fitness. This is about control. When you move, you tell your brain, 'I am not stuck.' Action creates clarity." Ethan repeated softly, "Action creates clarity." Mark nodded. He said, "Most people wait to feel ready, but readiness comes after action." Ethan nodded. Then Mark gave Ethan another simple method. He said, "Use a stress sentence. When you feel stress, say this: 'I feel stress, but I can take one step.'" Ethan repeated slowly, "I feel stress, but I can take one step." Mark said, "Good." Then Mark added one more piece. He said, "Stress often comes from one big task." Ethan nodded. Mark continued, "So break it down. Make the task so small it cannot scare you." Ethan asked, "How?" Mark replied, "If your task is to write a report, your first step is open the document, write the title. That is it." Ethan smiled. Mark said, "Your brain fears big tasks, but your brain does not fear small steps." Ethan said softly, "Small steps." Mark nodded. He said,
Stress becomes manageable when you make things small. Then Mark asked Ethan, "What is your biggest stress right now?" Ethan answered honestly, "I feel behind in life." Mark looked at him and said calmly, "Then your first step is not a big step. Your first step is make your bed, clean your desk, do 2 minutes of work." Ethan laughed softly. He said, "That sounds too simple." Mark smiled. He said, "Simple is powerful, because discipline is built by simple actions repeated." Mark then said something important. He said, "When your life feels messy, start with your space. A clean space gives a clean mind." Ethan nodded. He said, "I never thought about that." Mark said, "Most people ignore the small things, but small things create big change." Now, my dear friends, let us practice spoken English from this segment. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. Stress creates avoidance. Repeat after me. Stress creates avoidance. Again, slowly. Stress creates avoidance. Sentence 2. I will take one step. Repeat after me. I will take one step. Again, I will take one step. Sentence 3. Action creates clarity. Repeat after me. Action creates clarity. Again, slowly. Action creates clarity. Sentence 4. I feel stress, but I can take one step. Repeat after me. I feel stress, but I can take one step. Again, I feel stress, but I can take one step. Sentence 5. Small steps create big change. Repeat after me. Small steps create big change. Again, slowly. Small steps create big change. Very good. Now, calm speaking drill. Repeat slowly. I feel stress, but I can move. I can breathe. I can start small. I can build discipline. Repeat again slowly. I feel stress, but I can move. I can breathe. I can start small. I can build discipline. Excellent. Now let us continue. Ethan felt motivated, but Mark said something surprising. He said, "Motivation is not the goal." Ethan looked confused. Mark said, "Your goal is identity." In segment 5, Mark will teach Ethan the identity method. This method will make discipline automatic.
Now we are in segment 5. Ethan felt hopeful. The 2-minute rule was simple. The minimum discipline rule was practical. The stress to action method felt real. But Mark said something surprising. He said, "Motivation is not the goal." Ethan asked, "Then what is the goal?" Mark looked at Ethan and said calmly, "Identity." Ethan repeated, "Identity." Mark nodded. He said, "Most people try to change their life by changing actions, but actions are not the deepest level. Identity is deeper." Ethan listened closely. Mark continued, "If you believe you are lazy, you will act lazy. If you believe you are disciplined, you will act disciplined." Ethan looked down. He said, "I always tell myself I am lazy." Mark nodded. He said, "That is why you stay stuck." Ethan asked, "So what should I do?" Mark said, "You must change your identity sentence." Ethan repeated, "Identity sentence?" Mark explained. He said, "Every day you say something about yourself. I am lazy. I am not consistent. I always fail. These sentences become your identity. Then your actions follow." Ethan nodded slowly. Mark continued, "Now you will replace that sentence." Ethan asked, "With what?" Mark smiled. He said, "With a disciplined identity." Mark spoke clearly. "I am becoming a disciplined person." Ethan repeated, "I am becoming a disciplined person." Mark said again. Ethan repeated again.
Mark nodded. He said, "This sentence is not a lie, because you are not saying you are perfect. You are saying you are becoming." Ethan smiled slightly. Mark continued, "Then you prove this identity with small actions. 2 minutes, minimum discipline, 1 step. Every small action becomes evidence, and evidence builds belief." Ethan repeated softly, "Evidence builds belief." Mark nodded. He said, "This is the identity method. You do not wait to feel disciplined. You act disciplined in small ways. Then you become disciplined." Ethan felt something change. He said, "So discipline is not personality." Mark replied, "Correct. Discipline is a skill." Ethan smiled. Mark continued, "Now I will teach you the second part, the identity promise." Ethan asked, "What is that?" Mark said, "Every morning write 1 sentence. Today I will act like a disciplined person." Ethan repeated, "Today I will act like a disciplined person." Mark nodded. He said, "Then choose 1 action, just 1. If you do 1 disciplined action, your identity grows." Ethan asked, "What if I fail?" Mark smiled. He said, "Failure is part of training, but you will not stop. Remember, never do 0." Ethan nodded. Then Mark said something important. He said, "Lazy people depend on mood. Disciplined people depend on routine." Ethan repeated, "Depend on routine." Mark nodded. He said, "Your routine is your identity in action." Ethan looked at Mark and said, "This is deeper than I expected." Mark smiled. He said, "Yes, because discipline is not about work only. Discipline is self-respect." Ethan felt silent. Self-respect. Mark continued, "When you respect yourself, you do not abandon yourself." Ethan looked down. He said, "I abandon myself." Mark nodded. He said, "Not anymore, because now you have a system." Now, my dear friends, let us practice spoken English from this segment. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. I am becoming a disciplined person. Repeat after me. I am becoming a disciplined person. Again, slowly. I am becoming a disciplined person. Sentence 2. Evidence builds belief. Repeat after me. Evidence builds belief. Again, evidence builds belief. Sentence 3. Today I will act like a disciplined person. Repeat after me. Today I will act like a disciplined person. Again, slowly. Today I will act like a disciplined person. Sentence 4. Discipline is a skill. Repeat after me. Discipline is a skill. Again, discipline is a skill. Sentence 5. Discipline is self-respect. Repeat after me. Discipline is self-respect. Again, slowly. Discipline is self-respect. Very good. Now, calm speaking drill. Repeat slowly. I respect myself. I start small. I protect the habit. I act disciplined. I become disciplined. Repeat again, slowly. I respect myself. I start small. I protect the habit. I act disciplined. I become disciplined. Excellent. Now, let us continue. Ethan asked Mark, "What about days when I fall back into the old habits?" Mark nodded. He said, "That will happen, but you need a recovery system." In segment 6, Mark will teach Ethan the comeback rule. This rule will help you recover fast after a bad day and keep discipline for life.
Now we are in segment 6. Ethan felt inspired. He understood the identity method. I am becoming a disciplined person. Evidence builds belief. But Ethan asked a real question. He said, "Mark, what if I fall back?" Mark nodded. He said, "You will." Ethan looked surprised. Mark smiled slightly. He said, Discipline is not a straight line. It is a process. You will have good days, you will have bad days. The difference is not perfection. The difference is recovery. Ethan repeated, recovery. Mark said, yes. So you need a comeback system. Mark called it the comeback rule. Ethan asked, what is it? Mark answered calmly, never miss twice. Ethan froze. He repeated, never miss twice. Mark nodded. He said, if you miss one day, that is normal. But if you miss 2 days, a habit starts dying. Ethan nodded slowly. Mark continued, so your only rule is this. If you fail today, you return tomorrow. Ethan asked, what if I feel guilty? Mark smiled. He said, guilt can destroy discipline because guilt makes you think, I already failed, so I will fail more. Ethan looked down. Mark continued, but disciplined people do not think like that. They think, I failed and I return. Ethan repeated softly, I failed and I return. Mark nodded. He said, this is power. Then Mark gave Ethan a simple recovery method. He said, after a bad day, do the minimum the next day. Not the strong level, not the full plan, just the minimum. Ethan asked, why minimum? Mark said, because after failure, your brain feels weak, so you must rebuild confidence. Small success rebuilds confidence. Ethan nodded. Mark continued, so if you miss work, the next day you do 2 minutes only. If you miss exercise, the next day you do 5 push-ups only. If you miss study, the next day you read 1 page only. Ethan smiled. Mark said, this is how you return without pressure. Then Mark said something important. He said, your comeback speed decides your success. Ethan repeated, my comeback speed decides my success. Mark nodded. He said, not your talent, not your motivation, your comeback speed. Ethan looked at Mark and said, so I should focus on returning fast. Mark smiled. He said, exactly. Then Mark gave Ethan another powerful idea. He said, treat your bad day like a weather day. Ethan asked, weather day? Mark nodded. He said, some days are sunny, some days are rainy. You do not hate the rain. You just wait and you continue. Ethan smiled. Mark continued, bad days are rain. They come, they go, but you keep your routine alive. Ethan nodded. Then Mark said, now I will teach you the final part, the discipline contract. Ethan asked, what is that? Mark replied, write a sentence and keep it in your phone. It says, I will return tomorrow. Ethan repeated, I will return tomorrow. Mark said, every time you fail, read it. Because the goal is not being perfect. The goal is coming back. Ethan felt calm. He said, this makes me feel less afraid. Mark nodded. He said, fear makes you quit. Self-trust makes you return. Ethan repeated softly, self-trust makes me return. Now, my dear friends, let us practice spoken English from this segment. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. I will never miss twice. Repeat after me. I will never miss twice. Again, slowly. I will never miss twice. Sentence 2. If I fail today, I will return tomorrow. Repeat after me. If I fail today, I will return tomorrow. Again, if I fail today, I will return tomorrow. Sentence 3. Small success rebuilds confidence. Repeat after me. Small success rebuilds confidence. Again, slowly. Small success rebuilds confidence. Sentence 4. Bad days are like rain. Repeat after me. Bad days are like rain. Again, bad days are like rain. Sentence 5. My comeback speed decides my success. Repeat after me.
My comeback speed decides my success. Again, slowly. My comeback speed decides my success. Very good. Now, calm speaking drill. Repeat slowly. I missed today, but I will return tomorrow. I will do the minimum. I will protect the habit. I will build discipline. Repeat again, slowly. I missed today, but I will return tomorrow. I will do the minimum. I will protect the habit. I will build discipline. Excellent. Now let us continue. Ethan felt strong, but Mark said, now you need one more thing. You need a long-term discipline plan. In segment 7, Mark will teach Ethan the weekly discipline system. This system will help you stay disciplined for months, not just days.
Now we are in segment 7. Ethan understood the comeback rule. Never miss twice. Return tomorrow. Do the minimum after a bad day. Ethan felt hopeful, but Mark said, now you need something bigger. Ethan asked, what? Mark replied, a weekly system. Ethan repeated, weekly system. Mark nodded. He said, daily discipline is important, but weekly discipline creates long-term success. Ethan asked, why weekly? Mark said, because your life changes every week. Some weeks are busy. Some weeks are calm. Some weeks have surprises. If you only depend on daily motivation, you will fail. So you need a weekly plan that keeps you consistent. Mark called it the 3-day discipline system. Ethan asked, 3-day? Mark nodded. He said, your discipline is built on 3 key days. Day 1, planning day. Day 2, deep work day. Day 3, recovery day. Ethan looked confused. Mark smiled. He said, let me explain. Planning day is the first day of your week. On this day, you do one thing. You decide what matters this week. Not 10 goals, only 3 priorities. Ethan repeated, 3 priorities. Mark nodded. He said, for example, priority 1, work. Priority 2, health. Priority 3, skill. Then you write one small action for each. Work, 20 minutes project work. Health, 10-minute walk. Skill, 10 minutes English practice. Ethan nodded. Mark said, this makes your week clear. Clear weeks create calm minds. Then Mark explained deep work day. He said, deep work day is one day in the week where you push. Not every day, only one day. On that day, you do your strong level. 60 minutes focus work, hard training, long study. Ethan asked, why only one day? Mark replied, because one deep day builds confidence, and it makes discipline feel real. If you try to do deep work every day, you will burn out, so one deep day is enough. Then Mark explained recovery day. He said, recovery day is one day where you do the minimum and rest. Ethan frowned. He said, rest. Mark nodded. He said, yes. Disciplined people respect recovery because recovery prevents quitting. Recovery day is still discipline because you do the minimum, you protect the habit, and you allow your body to breathe. Ethan nodded. Mark continued, this weekly system has one powerful effect. It removes pressure because you are not trying to be strong every day. You are trying to be consistent every week. Ethan smiled. Mark said, now I will teach you the second part, the weekly review. Ethan asked, what is that? Mark said, once a week for 10 minutes, answer these questions. What did I do well? What did I miss? What will I improve next week? Ethan repeated. Mark continued, this creates progress without stress. Ethan asked, what if my week is terrible? Mark smiled. He said, then you use the comeback rule. Never miss twice. Return. Do the minimum. Ethan felt calm. Then Mark said something important. He said, discipline is not a punishment. Discipline is a plan for freedom. Ethan repeated softly, a plan for freedom. Mark nodded. He said, when you are disciplined, you stop feeling guilty. You start trusting yourself. Ethan looked at Mark and said, this is what I want. Mark smiled. He said, good, because now you are ready for the final lesson. In segment 8, Ethan will face a final test. He will prove his discipline. We will recap the full discipline system, and you will have a plan you can use every week. Now we are in the final segment. Segment 8. This is the recap. Recap is important because repetition builds discipline, and discipline is a skill. Ethan started this story as a person stuck in a lazy cycle. He delayed his work. He scrolled his phone. He felt guilty at night. He promised change tomorrow, but tomorrow never came. Then Ethan met Mark, and Mark taught him one truth. You do not need motivation, you need a system. Now let us finish Ethan's story. After that night, Ethan went home and started small. He used the 2-minute rule. He opened his laptop. He worked for 2 minutes. Some days he stopped. Most days he continued. Then Ethan used the minimum discipline rule. Even on tired days, he did the minimum. He never did 0. Then Ethan used the stress to action method. When stress came, he moved his body. 10 breaths, 20 squats, 2 minutes work. Then Ethan changed his identity. He stopped saying, I am lazy. He started saying, I am becoming a disciplined person. He built belief through evidence, small actions every day. Then Ethan used the comeback rule. Never miss twice. If he failed today, he returned tomorrow. No guilt, only recovery. Then Ethan built a weekly system. Planning day, deep work day, recovery day, weekly review. This created long-term discipline. Now 1 month passed. Ethan was not perfect, but he was consistent. He woke up earlier. He worked more. He scrolled less. He felt proud. Then life tested Ethan. One evening, Ethan had a stressful day. His boss gave him extra work. Traffic was heavy. His body felt tired. Old Ethan would escape. Old Ethan would scroll. Ethan sat on the couch and looked at his phone. His mind said, just relax, start tomorrow. Ethan stared at the phone for a moment. Then he remembered Mark's words, never miss twice. Ethan stood up. He put the phone in another room. He took 10 deep breaths. He did 20 slow squats. Then he opened his laptop. 2 minutes only. Ethan started the timer. He worked. After 2 minutes, he asked, do I want to stop or continue? Ethan continued. Because starting broke the lazy cycle. That night, Ethan smiled because he proved something. He could trust himself. He did not need motivation. He had a system. Now, my dear friends, here is your full discipline system recap. The discipline system. 2-minute rule. Start for 2 minutes. Minimum discipline rule. Never do 0. Environment control. Remove distractions. Clean space. Stress to action method. Move the body, then start. Identity method. I am becoming a disciplined person. Comeback rule. Never miss twice. Weekly system. Planning day, deep work day, recovery day. This is discipline. Not pain, not pressure, just small actions repeated. Now let us do the final spoken English practice. Repeat after me. Sentence 1. I do not need motivation. I need a system. Repeat after me. I do not need motivation. I need a system. Again, slowly. I do not need motivation. I need a system. Sentence 2. I will start for 2 minutes. Repeat after me. I will start for 2 minutes. Again, I will start for 2 minutes. Sentence 3. I will never do 0. Repeat after me. I will never do 0. Again, slowly. I will never do 0. Sentence 4. If I fail today, I will return tomorrow. Repeat after me. If I fail today, I will return tomorrow. Again. If I fail today, I will return tomorrow. Sentence 5. I am becoming a disciplined person. Repeat after me. I am becoming a disciplined person. Again, slowly. I am becoming a disciplined person. Very good. Now, calm speaking drill. Repeat slowly. I start small. I stay consistent. I return quickly. I build discipline. I change my life. Repeat again, slowly. I start small. I stay consistent. I return quickly. I build discipline. I change my life. Excellent. Now let me give you a final calm message. Discipline is not about being strong all the time. Discipline is about coming back again and again. Start small. Protect the habit. Never miss twice. This is how you build a new life. Thank you for listening to English Learning Stories. If this story helped you, please like this video and subscribe. Write in the comments, I am becoming a disciplined person. Next story, how to stop procrastination and take action. Take care. See you in the next story.